Hey everyone, you've now completed your first journal chapter, taking the time to think about the characteristics of a public health leader that you admire. In this module, we're going to explore internal characteristics and identify our own internal strengths that'll help us to become the public health leaders that we aspire to be, and at the same time, will help us become positive team members. Let's start with the 3 C's that we've read about in this module. Actually, the 3 C's come from the 7 C's identified by the social change model, but they're also common characteristics in each of the 3 leadership models that we're exploring this semester. We begin at the most inner layer of the health impact pyramid and socio-ecological model, at the individual level. Self-awareness, the cornerstone of this level, and is essential for a collaborative approach to leadership. The other C's are also dictated and operationalized most effectively with thoughtful self-awareness. I define my leadership style as a cross between Ella Baker's pioneering definition of leader and how Skendall describes the social change model of leadership. I can't help but to lead with congruence, which sometimes demands agitating the system. Fighting for high nutrient quality and delicious food for Boston Public School students, and yes, one has to ask why in the world would this be a fight? It was necessary to lead by agitating the Boston Public School system. While effective and cannot have been done any other way, I think this experience really forces you to ask, what kind of leader do I want to be? Passionately following my values, principles, and priorities definitely has branded me with that reputation. When you decide what kind of public health leader you want to be, you also have to consider the gamut of who you'll be working with and leading. Let's look at political leaders as our example. There have been many races, nationally, as of late, where the status quo incumbent has been challenged by a more outspoken, progressive game changer. In New York City last week, the challenger won, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Here in Boston and Massachusetts, we have a number of races that are very similar and will draw the same attention if the challenger wins. Commitment means something to each of us. We're each committed to something, probably many things. But what does commitment mean to you in a leadership role? While commitment is the anchor of the 3 C's, at the same time, I think we each have our own definition of commitment. What level of commitment makes an effective leader? How does a committed, effective leader avoid burnout? A common and plausible barrier with a highly committed leader. A highly committed leader has to build the capacity for resilience. I hope to discuss these questions further in our live session, which will of course be recorded so all can participate. Mindfulness has been identified as an important coping and leader building strategy. Mindfulness is the awareness that emerges through paying attention on purpose and non-judgmentally to the unfolding of experience moment by moment. Mindfulness is often achieved through meditation. The value of meditation is often described as the ability to understand pain, connect better, lower stress, focus, and reduce brain chatter. I notice that many of you, like me, enjoy being active. How many of you use mindfulness to get through running or hiking, or to get through other experiences where pain, physically or mentally, could otherwise be a limiting factor? We spend an incredible amount of our time in work and or career-oriented learning like this public health program. We need to fuel ourselves and our minds with a sense of purpose about our life and work. Furthermore, bearing witness to the suffering of health and social inequalities can take its toll on us. How can we cope and at the same time become better leaders? Did anybody attend a Families Belong Together rally? I know Chicago and Boston both had big ones. Mindfulness has been shown to also open possibilities for creativity and innovation, both essential in public health practice and leadership. As this slide shows, mindfulness, resilience, grit, I really like the word and concept of grit, and sense of purpose will all be essential in your public health career, as some of you have already experienced or at least soon will. But these are also important characteristics and essential across all of life's domains. I hope that you take time to carefully review the Module 2 additional resources and learn more about mindfulness. Many people now practice meditation. In fact, I'd imagine that some of you in this course can more profoundly add to this conversation. So I hope that you're able to attend the next live session where we can explore mindfulness and learn from each other more profoundly. Before concluding, I also wanted to briefly turn to your group projects. Typically, my hope is to use the live sessions to focus more on the group and individual projects. But since our live session for this module, as of now, is scheduled on the day that the LOI is due, I wanted to review SMART objectives. Please remember from your CHSC 422 course that SMART objectives are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. From where and how do you come up with your parameters? Well, let's start with measurable. Please remember that evidence-based support is critical to setting targets for this parameter. Understanding from the literature what has been done before and best practices will also help you to create realistic objectives. Also, for each indicator, a new objective must be created. And be sure to ask each other on your team, is this feasible given the capacity of our target community, of key personnel, of the organization, of our grant funds, and of what else? Be sure to review the additional resources for writing SMART objectives. And thank you for tuning in. I hope that you are able to log into the live session so that we can discuss the concepts introduced here even further.